kick us off, Jill, I would love if you could tell us a little bit, we alluded to it there, but a little bit about your personal experience with recovery and going from a number of health challenges to a state of, vitality, and hopefully a state where flow comes easily to you. If you could give us that breakdown, and we'll dive in from there.
You got it, Rian. Thank you for your kind, generous introduction. And I was born to overcome. I didn't know that until I started hitting the obstacles of life that we all hit. But I realized very early in life that my route, my soul's journey, is to experience sometimes great suffering and illness. But through that, the depth and understanding of knowledge that I've gained is absolutely priceless, because medical school does not teach you these things in that depth. And I've conventionally trained. I basically grew up with the heart of a naturopath, a healer. I grew up on a farm in Illinois, and we had a large, like a half-acre garden. So we had lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. We grew a ton of our own food. My mother was a nurse who was retired to raise I was one of 5 children, so 5 children growing up on the farm. But lots of hard work, lots of organic produce, lots of love and beautiful family life. But what, unbeknownst to me, was going on was there was probably pesticides in the well water. There was lots of organophosphate and toxic exposures. And at 25 years old, in my 3rd year of medical school, I found a lump in my breast. And I realized within 2 weeks I had a biopsy and got a call from the doctor. And she said, "Jill, I don't know how to tell you, but you've got aggressive, life-threatening cancer." And most people don't know this, but when you get breast cancer, a lot of people know friends, family, aunts, uncles, mothers, sisters, grandmothers that have had it. It's very common. But when you get it at 55 or 60, it's much more slow growing. It can be aggressive, but at 25, Rian, it is like a death sentence. I was in a group of young women under 40, and I'm the only one still living in that group. So I'm a miracle. And I hit this life-threatening cancer. But what happened was I took everything at my disposal. I had aggressive 3-drug chemotherapy. I had radiation. I had multiple surgeries. But I also at the same time said, as a healer, how do I heal my body from the toxic effects? And cancer was easy. The hard part was over the next 20 years since then was healing my gut, healing my body from the toxic effects of the drugs. Now, I have no regrets because they saved my life, but the kinds of therapies we use nowadays in cancer are incredibly toxic. And they don't think about the 10 or 20-year outcomes of heart failure or immune system dysfunction. I today have immune dysfunction, immune deficiency, probably not from the cancer, but from the treatment of the cancer. And I'm still doing well, but it's interesting because there are those side effects. So I restored afterwards. Within 6 months of basically completing my treatment and being considered cured of cancer, I started having weight loss and abdominal pain, and I was working through fevers in the ER. I would go into 12-hour shifts, and I'd have 102 temp. No one knew it because you don't talk about that in med school. You don't show weakness. It's a very masculine, hard-driving culture. I was not about to say I was sick. I was there, and I had to show up. But one day, I was taking a patient's blood pressure in the ER, and I passed out cold. And I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I was taken into the hospital, found to have an abscess. And when I came out of surgery, the doctor said, "Jill, you have Crohn's disease. It's life-threatening. It's going to be lifelong. There's no cure. You're going to be on steroids. You're going to likely be on immune modulating drugs. And get used to this because this is your life." And I was like, whoa, like shocked. But I remember the question I asked the doctor who diagnosed me right before I left. I said, "Doc, I want to do whatever I can to help my body. Does diet have anything to do with this?" And he didn't pause. He said, "Jill, diet has nothing to do with Crohn's." And this was where I teach people now, you can be in your head. I was a bioengineer. I'm very analytical, but the heart, the intuition can often have just as much profound truth. And if we combine them, and this is where flow happens too, there's magic. And at that time, I had just enough intuition to be like, I don't think that's true. How can diet not have something to do with the gut in this condition? So I went on I was a mystery solver, a detective. I went on to the library and I studied, and I came across a couple diets that said, hey, we've had good results with Crohn's. I went on the specific carbohydrate diet, and within 2 weeks, my fevers were gone, my symptoms were gone. I wasn't cured from Crohn's, but I knew diet had a lot to do with it. And I had always gone into medicine knowing I had a much more natural heart of a healer, but I wanted to learn the conventional system because right now reimbursement and systems, it's still the main system in the US. So I did that, but I kind of feel like I infiltrated because I wanted to also bring in other things like natural therapies and nutrition and vitamin and mind body things. And so in my own illness of breast cancer and then Crohn's in the middle of medical school, I had to put that to work, and I had to figure out, how do I still do, like I had to have surgery for my abscess, but then afterwards I changed my diet, I changed my lifestyle. And today, 21 years later, I am completely cured of Crohn's. I don't have it anymore. And that's one of those things where you're told in conventional medicine, autoimmunity is incurable. Well, I talk about reversible autoimmunity because it is curable. We know the roots. So I had that experience very early at 25, 26, and it kind of flavored my interaction with conventional medicine because I realized there's truth here that they don't tell us. And there's answers to be found if we have an open mind. And if we, again, I love my analytical mind and I think it's powerful, but when we go into that heart intuition, I think the mind is like an old, computer that has maybe 1,000 pieces of data at the time. It's amazing. But when we go into heart intuitive space and into flow states, we can get answers with thousands and millions of pieces of subconscious information in the second and have a knowing that's so deep. And there's literally science that proves that intuitive knowledge is actually more accurate than our analytical mind. And when we combine them, we're unstoppable.
If what you've heard on Flow Research Collective Radio has been helpful, please consider doing us a solid and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this. Reviews help us connect to a wider audience so we can get these peak performance principles out to more people.